A primary school in Eastleigh, UK has cancelled its annual Easter service and parade, citing the need to respect diversity. Welcome back to Riks Europe, Fred De Fossard, Director of Strategy at Prosperity Institute.
Thank you very much for having me. Good to see you again, Rebecca.
You too. So this has received plenty of backlash. Can you explain what happened?
Yes, absolutely. So a primary school in Eastleigh, which is in Hampshire in the southwest of England, has decided for the first time it will cancel its Easter service. It does a Christmas service and it's done Easter services for many years, but this time the school's headmistress, who has been in post since September, wrote a letter and posted it on a local Facebook group saying that Easter will be cancelled. And this is because they want to respect diversity and inclusivity. The headmistress even said that the school will be hosting Refugee Week instead as a sign of their commitment to diversity. This has provoked backlash. Somebody posted the letter, which was posted on a Facebook group. They posted it. It picked up national and even international attention and huge amounts of condemnation. However, the person that posted the letter has apologized for posting it. They didn't intend to cause the backlash that it's caused, but it really shows the strength of feeling that the whole concept of diversity is now being used to stamp out what many people think are the traditional aspects of British culture.
Are we seeing other cases like this of Easter, or is it shown in other ways?
This isn't the first time something like this has happened. Sometimes backlash from parents has caused schools to reverse. This hasn't been the case in this school so far. I've read lots of reports where the school has been approached for comment and they've said nothing. Obviously, Easter is still, 4 weeks away, so they might change course in between now and then. But then there's the Easter holidays to come. Another case, which I think is really interesting, happened a couple of years ago in London, where a school called the Sir Francis Drake Primary School was renamed Twin Oaks. That was during the whole Black Lives Matter stuff. This was a school which is in a relatively diverse area of London, and the school felt that being named after Sir Francis Drake, who was a very famous sailor in the 16th century, was somehow offensive. I think that's completely insane, but it shows that this does happen from time to time. Regarding Eastleigh, the interesting thing is Eastleigh is not a very diverse area. I looked at the census figures for Eastleigh and the area in which the school is based. The school is based in kind of a poor area, but Eastleigh itself is overwhelmingly white British. The religious figures show that around half the population are Christian, only 1% is Muslim, only 1% is Hindu, and the remaining just under 50% of the population are not religious at all. So the idea that Easter is somehow offensive, to me, doesn't really wash. Again, it's basically an attack on British tradition.
And of course, there's been a lot of pushback from parents. And you mentioned this, that they want to celebrate Refugee Week instead. And I understand that Eid, Diwali, a few other sort of religious or cultural festivities are being taken into account. But why is it so that they would take away Easter for those children whom that it is part of their culture? Because then it's not really inclusivity, right? So why is one thing being taken away and other things are being embraced?
Precisely. You're completely correct. And the thing is, the school itself has barely even explained itself. The head teacher wrote in her letter that this was taken with decision after engaging with the school community and careful consideration. But at the same time, it was just announced without warning to the parents. So clearly there wasn't very much careful consideration. There wasn't much engagement with the school community. It was quite clearly, to me, a political decision taken without proper consultation or even notifying the people in the area. To me, it's very, very strange, but it shows that diversity isn't really about respecting everybody in Britain. It's about picking out favourite minority groups and practices, in this instance, people that don't celebrate Easter, and perhaps people that are involved in Refugee Week. And look at the controversy around everything to do with refugees and asylum in Britain, up and down the country. It seems remarkable for a primary school to make a decision to celebrate something really politically contentious like Refugee Week, while also getting rid of its marking of Easter, which is, of course, the most important Christian celebration in a country which is officially Christian. We have a national church, and of course, we have a king who is the head of the church. To me, it's completely ridiculous.
And with this pushback, has there been any information that they take that into account, that they might take this back?
Not yet. In the letter, there's one line that says, "We're aware that this might upset some people." That's it. The school has declined to comment. I'm not sure if they will comment. There's been quite a few news stories and they haven't responded yet. It will be worth seeing if they back down. I think a lot of the time people make these decisions without expecting anyone to notice, and that people will just quietly go along with it. But one thing I've noticed, and I'm sure you've noticed now, is that the British public are increasingly angry with this kind of stuff. That 5 years ago they might quietly let it go. Now it's provoking much more backlash.
What impact could this decision have on students understanding their own culture and religious identities? Is this sort of thing taken into account?
I mean, it probably isn't. The way in which religious education is done in this country, including in many Christian schools, is that we get lessons about loads of different faiths. In many cases, there's more focus on the Quran than there is the Bible. But of course, some schools are religious, some schools are non-religious. But in general, there isn't much focus on the Christian history and tradition in this country, in our education system as it is. Many people think Easter is about rabbits, not about Christ, the crucifixion and the resurrection. But I think that's common across much of the Western world now, not just England.
And what do you predict will happen as a result of this? This is one school, of course, so it isn't affecting the whole country. Is your prediction that this will continue, or do you believe that it could go in the other direction?
It will probably continue, but the backlash, which to this case has been significant, might deter a few more schools from doing this kind of thing. It's worth remembering that a fear of negative headlines is a big motivator not to do something. So if other schools see a huge amount of criticism for this kind of action, and particularly if the government distances itself from the school or doesn't really comment, it might mean fewer schools take these decisions. But it's hard to know, because lots of schools have quite a lot of independent ability to run their own affairs, and some schools, I said, are religious, some schools are not religious, some schools might have it in their traditions or not. So I'm not really sure. I don't think it's going to stop the whole thing, though.
Thank you very much, Fred De Fossard, Director of Strategy at Prosperity Institute, for your time.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Great to speak again.
And thank you for watching Riks Europe.